The drumbeat came from the forest before the sun woke up, and every child in Oro village knew what it meant. Something was about to change. The morning the ground began to speak. No one in Oro village forgot that morning. The sky was still grey, and the dew was cold on the grass. Roosters had not finished shouting, yet the earth itself began to talk. Boom. 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 The sound was deep and slow, like a giant heart beating under the soil. Amina was the first to hear it clearly. She was already awake, tying her worn sandals with shaking fingers. School waited for no one, and Amina never liked to be late. She was one of the run-to-school girls, a small group of village girls who ran every morning from Oro to the old mission school by the Red Hill. They ran not because they loved running, but because learning was precious, and time was short. When the sound reached her ears, Amina froze. She pressed her bare foot against the ground. Boom. It came again. Her little sister Zainab sat up on the mat. Amina, is it thunder? Amina shook her head. Thunder lives in the sky. This one lives below. Outside, dogs barked. Birds flew up from the mango trees in fear. The village began to wake like a disturbed nest of ants. Amina stepped out of the mud house. Cool air brushed her face. She could see other girls coming out too, their school bags hanging like tired friends on their backs. There was Kemi, tall and quiet. There was Sewa, whose laughter could wake the dead. There was Ngozi, small but sharp like a needle. They were the Run school girls. They met near the old Iroko tree, the same place they met every morning. But today, no one laughed. No one stretched their legs to warm up. They all stood still, listening. Boom.
We have to know
It
why
is the
it
forest
spoke.
drum,
Do you think
Sewa
Mama
whispered.
Ifunanya will help us?
She
That
always
drum was
knows what
buried
the
long
wants.
ago, Kemi replied. My grandmother said it was sealed with blood and oath. Ngozi swallowed hard. Why is it beating now? Before anyone could answer, old Mama Ifunanya appeared. She walked slowly with her carved stick, her back bent like a question mark. Her eyes were cloudy, but they saw more than young eyes ever could. So, she said, her voice dry like leaves. The ground has remembered. The girls gathered around her. In Oro village, when Mama Ifunanya spoke, even the wind listened. What does it mean? Amina asked. Mama Ifunanya touched the earth with her stick. Long ago, before your mothers were born, before the school was built, the village made a promise. A promise about girls, knowledge, and the road that runs between. The road we run every day. Zainab asked, peeking from behind Amina. Yes, Mama Ifunanya said. That road is not just dust and stone. It is a story. The drumbeat came again, louder this time. Boom. Boom. The promise is breaking, the old woman continued. And when promises break, spirits wake. Fear crept into Amina's chest, but something else came with it. Curiosity. A strange fire. We have school, Kemi said softly. Teacher Musa will be angry. Mama Ifunanya smiled, and the lines on her face moved like rivers. Today, school will not be inside four walls. She pointed her stick toward the Red Hill. Run. But do not run past the forest gate. The spirits are counting footsteps. The girls looked at one another. The Run school girls had never been afraid of distance or dust. But spirits were different. Still, Amina tightened her bag straps. We run together, she said. Like always. They began to run. The path curved between farms and tall grass. Their feet beat the ground in fast rhythm. Dust rose. Breath came hard. The drumbeat followed them, matching their steps, as if the earth was running too. As they reached the forest gate, a place marked by two broken stones, the sound stopped. Silence fell heavy. The girls slowed down. Birds sang again, confused. The world pretended nothing had happened. Maybe it is over, Sewa said, forcing a laugh. But Amina felt it. The road felt warmer under her feet. Alive. At the school, Teacher Musa stood by the door, chalk in hand. His eyes were wide. "You heard it too," he said before anyone spoke. "Yes, sir," the girls answered. He nodded. "Then the stories are true?" He led them inside, but he did not open any books. Instead, he drew a long line on the board. "This is the road," he said. "Before this school, before this chalk, knowledge belonged to a few. The village elders feared educated girls. They said learning would make girls run away from tradition." The girls listened closely. "So they made a deal," he continued. "Girls could learn, but only if they ran for it. If they showed effort. If they respected the land." Ngozi frowned. "And the drum?" "The drum was the promise keeper," Teacher Musa said. "Buried under the road. If the balance breaks, it speaks." Outside, clouds gathered slowly. "Someone has broken the promise," Kemi said. Teacher Musa looked at the girls, his voice low. "Or the promise is calling you to fix it." The Run School girls felt the weight of his words. They were just girls. But the road knew their names. The earth answered their feet. Far away, deep under the soil, the drum waited. And the road was no longer just a road. The sky had darkened by the time the girls left school. Not a single bird sang. Even the goats in the village yard seemed tense. The drumbeat had stopped after school, but its memory lingered, vibrating in their feet like a secret that wanted to be told. Amina adjusted her bag and glanced at her friends. "We have to know why it spoke," she said. Her voice was soft, but firm. The others nodded. They had been the Run School girls for as long as anyone could remember. Running was in their blood, and curiosity was stronger than fear. "Do you think Mama Ifunanya will help us?" Ngozi asked. "She will," Kemi replied. "She always knows what the earth wants." The girls ran home quickly, past the farms where cassava leaves glistened with dew. Amina's little sister Zainab waved at them, her tiny hand trembling. The other village children stayed away, sensing the unusual tension. When they reached Mama Ifunanya's hut, the old woman was already waiting outside. Her stick tapped the ground in a slow rhythm, almost like she was keeping her own secret beat. "Girls," she said without greeting, "the drum has chosen you."
Like it's alive.
"Chosen us?" Amina repeated, confused. "Why us?" "Because you run," Mama Ifunanya said. "You run every morning. You chase knowledge, not wealth. You respect the earth. And you listen. The drum only listens to those who are ready." Sewa shivered. "Ready for what?" Mama Ifunanya's eyes glowed faintly in the dim evening light. "To climb the red hill." The red hill was sacred. All the elders avoided it unless there was a festival or a serious ritual. No ordinary girl from the village had ever climbed it alone, and certainly not at night. "But it's dangerous," Kemi said. "We could get lost, or meet the spirits," Sewa added, her voice barely above a whisper. "Yes," Mama Ifunanya said. "But the drum will guide you if you listen. The drum only speaks to those who run with their hearts, not just their legs." The girls exchanged nervous glances. Fear called in their stomachs, but excitement followed. Something bigger than school waited for them. Something they could not ignore. "Take these," Mama Ifunanya said, handing them small pouches. Inside were herbs, small stones, and a piece of red cloth. The herbs protect. The stones guide. The cloth reminds you of your promise to each other. Do not lose it. Amina took the pouch carefully, tying the red cloth around her wrist. The others did the same. The sun had dipped behind the hill, leaving a trail of fiery orange along its slope. The girls' shadows stretched long and thin over the dusty path. They began to run. At first, it was just like any other day, feet pounding, hearts racing, dust rising. But when they reached the forest edge, the air changed. It smelled of earth, wet moss, and something faintly metallic. Every sound, crickets, leaves, the whisper of wind, seemed sharper, as if the forest were awake. The path curved and twisted. Roots reached out like arms, and low branches scraped their arms. Amina felt a strange pull in her chest. She stopped for a moment and pressed the stone Mama Ifunanya had given her. It warmed her palm, then paused once, softly, like a heartbeat. Did it pause for you? Ngozi asked, holding her stone. Yes, Amina said. It's telling us to go on. The girls ran again. Higher they climbed, the red hill rising like a giant in front of them. Moonlight painted the hill in silver and shadow. The drum had not spoken yet, but every so often, they could hear a faint hum beneath their feet. A vibration that seemed to come from deep underground. Suddenly, Sewa stumbled and caught her foot on a hidden root. Watch out! Amina cried, grabbing her arm. They stopped, and for a moment, only their breathing filled the air. The forest seemed to watch them. The red stones of the hill glowed faintly, as if remembering something long ago. Amina stepped forward, pressing the stone again. This time, a soft sound joined the hum, a distant drumbeat. It was slow, steady, calling, like it had been waiting for them. Do you hear it? Kemi whispered. The girls nodded, fear and wonder tangled together. Every step forward brought the sound closer, stronger, vibrating through their bones. It felt alive. It felt hungry. Then the ground shifted beneath Amina's foot. She looked down. A small root had moved aside on its own, revealing a narrow path. It led upward, winding through the trees and red clay. It's showing us the way, Ngozi said. It wants us to climb. Amina glanced at her friends. We promised each other we run together. Now we climb together. Ready? The others nodded. They began their ascent, the hum turning into a drumbeat that pulsed with every step. Shadows danced along the hill, shapes forming in the moonlight. Some looked like animals, some like long-forgotten faces. But none moved toward them, all seemed to guide them. Halfway up, the air grew warmer. Leaves rustled without wind. The drumbeat became a chant, almost like words. Amina could not understand it yet, but it felt familiar. Something deep inside her whispered that the hill remembered all the girls who had run these roads before. Girls who had been brave, curious, and clever. At the very top, the path opened into a small clearing. The moonlight illuminated a large stone with carvings of girls running, books in their hands, trees bending above them. The carvings glowed faintly red, like the clay beneath their feet. The drumbeat stopped abruptly. Silence fell over the clearing, thick and complete. The girls looked at one another, hearts pounding. Something waited. Something old. Something that would only speak to those who dared to listen. Amina stepped forward. The stone paused beneath her touch, warm and alive. She whispered, "We came." A wind rose, gentle but commanding. It swept through their hair, through the red clay, through the forest below. And then a voice, ancient and low, spoke not with words they understood, but with feelings that went straight to their hearts. You have run well. You have climbed bravely. Now, listen, learn, and remember. The Run School girls shivered, but their feet were steady. The night was no longer just dark, it was full of stories, of promises, and of drums waiting to speak again. The Red Hill held its secrets, and the girls had just begun to uncover them. The wind on top of the Red Hill whispered through the girls' hair as if it carried voices from another time. Amina pressed her hands on the warm stone. The carvings glowed brighter now, revealing more than just girls and books. They showed animals running alongside humans, rivers twisting through the hills, and small children holding hands with elders. Every detail seemed to tell a story, but it was not in words. It was in feeling. Can you feel it? Ngozi asked, her eyes wide. Yes, Amina whispered. It's like it's alive. Kemi stepped closer, touching one of the carvings. The drum, it's telling us something. I don't know what, but it wants us to understand. Suddenly, the ground beneath them vibrated. The air filled with a low hum that grew louder and louder. It was the drum, the real drum buried deep under the hill for centuries, waiting for the right girls to hear it again. Mama Ifunanya's words returned to Amina's mind. The drum only listens to those who run with their hearts. The drumbeat grew steady, slow at first, then faster, like a heartbeat of the earth itself. And then, as if the drum had a voice, the vibration carried a message that the girls could feel in their bones. It wants us to run not just for school, Sewa said, her voice trembling. It wants us to run for something bigger. Amina felt a pull in her chest, a deep tug that made her knees weak. She pressed her palm on the stone. The pulse traveled through her arms, down to her toes. The carvings glowed red, and shapes shifted, forming a new image, a path, winding through the village, leading to the heart of the forest, where a hollow tree stood. The hollow tree, Kemi gasped. My grandmother told stories about it. She said it was the place where the first girls of Oro learned secrets from the earth. Secrets of what? Ngozi asked. Secrets of knowledge, Kemi said. Not just school books, wisdom. The kind that makes a village strong. The drumbeat slowed, then stopped, leaving a silence so thick that the girls could hear their own hearts. Then the wind whispered again, soft but clear, follow the path. Protect the promise. Teach the children. Amina looked at her friends. Do you understand? The drum is asking us to keep the promise. To run, yes, but to also share what we learn. To protect it. But how? Sewa asked. We are just girls. We run, Amina said firmly. We run, and we don't stop. The drum chose us. That means we can do this. The girls felt a bond stronger than friendship. The hill had chosen them together, and together they would face whatever came next. They tied their red cloths tightly around their wrists again, as a reminder of their promise to each other. Before they left the hill, Mama Ifunanya's voice echoed from below. Do not fear the forest, children. Its eyes are upon you, but it will guide you if your hearts are true. The girls nodded and began their descent. The forest path seemed easier now. Every step pulsed with the drum's memory. They reached the forest gate without looking back, and the moonlight kissed their faces as if rewarding their courage. The next day, school felt different. Teacher Musa noticed it immediately. You all are quiet today, he said. Your eyes, they carry stories. Did something happen on your run? The girls exchanged glances, but no one spoke. The drum's secret was theirs alone for now. But that night, as Amina lay on her mat, the hum returned. Not loud this time, just beneath the earth, almost a whisper. She pressed her hands to the floor. The vibration carried a new message. The promise is breaking in the village. Someone is trying to take knowledge away from the girls. Amina sat up, heart pounding. She knew immediately what this meant. Someone or something was trying to stop the run school girls. The path of learning, the promise, was in danger. She woke her friends early the next morning. Kemi, Sewa, and Ngozi gathered quietly in the shadow of the Iroko tree. We must run, Amina said, voice trembling with urgency. Not just to school, we have to reach the hollow tree before it's too late. The other girls nodded. Their feet touched the dusty road, hearts synchronized with the memory of the drumbeat. Together, they ran like never before. Faster, stronger, alive with the purpose of the earth itself. Every bend in the path seemed alive, guiding them. Every shadow of the forest watched, approving, warning, waiting. And deep below the soil, the drum waited too, ready to speak again when the girls reached the place where promises were made. By the time they neared the edge of the forest, the first light of dawn painted the sky pink. But the run school girls did not stop. They would not stop. Not until the secret of the drum and the promise of their village was safe. Somewhere ahead, the hollow tree waited, old as the hills, waiting to reveal the truth that could change their village forever. And the drum was already beating again. The forest was quiet as the run-to-school girls moved through the tall grass and twisted roots. The path was faint, barely more than a memory of where others had walked before them. The sun had not fully risen, and mist curled around the trunks like ghostly fingers. Every step felt heavy with purpose, yet their legs carried them swiftly, as if guided by an invisible force. Amina led the way, holding her stone tightly. Its warmth pulsed like a heartbeat, stronger now than ever. Kemi, Sewa, and Ngozi followed closely, red cloths tied around their wrists, eyes alert, and hearts pounding in unison. They had run many paths before, but none like this. This path was older than the village, older than the school, older than any story anyone had told. At last, they arrived at a small clearing. There it stood, the hollow tree. Its trunk was massive, wider than three girls standing hand to hand. Its bark was twisted and scarred, colored like red clay and dark brown veins. The hollow at its center was large enough for the girls to enter, and from inside came a faint glow. "Is it alive?" Sewa whispered. Amina placed her hand on the bark. The tree seemed to hum beneath her fingers, deep and steady like the drum itself. "Yes," she said. "It's alive, and it knows us." Kemi stepped forward bravely and entered the hollow first. Inside, the glow came from carvings etched deep into the wood. Figures of girls, like the ones on the red hill stone, ran along the walls of the hollow tree, books in hand, faces determined. Some of the carvings moved faintly, as if replaying stories from long ago. "This is amazing," Ngozi breathed. "It's like the tree remembers everything." The tree paused again, and a voice, low and clear, filled the hollow. It was not a human voice, nor a bird, nor the wind, it was the voice of the earth itself. "You have run far, children. You have shown courage, loyalty, and the desire to learn. You are the ones chosen to carry the promise." Amina stepped forward. "The promise? You mean the one Mama Ifunanya spoke about? The drum?" "Yes," the voice said. "Long ago, your village made a promise. That girls would run, that knowledge would be protected, and that learning would be shared with the village. The drum was the keeper of this promise, and the hollow tree holds its wisdom. But now, the promise is at risk. A shadow threatens to silence the voices of the girls. Only you can restore it." The girls exchanged nervous glances. "What do we need to do?" Kemi asked. The tree paused, and the carvings shifted to show a path, the girls running through the village, through fields and homes, stopping at places where the shadow tried to take books, lessons, or respect from girls. Each image was vivid and urgent. "You must run not only for yourselves but for all girls in the village," the voice continued. "Run with courage, with heart, and with unity. Show the shadow that knowledge cannot be hidden. The drum will guide you, and the hollow tree will protect you, but you must lead." Amina felt a warmth spread through her chest. It was fear, yes, but stronger than fear was purpose. The village depended on them, and the drum had chosen them for this very reason. The girls nodded, their hands brushing the walls of the hollow. They felt a surge of energy, a connection not just to the tree but to all the girls who had run before them. Their legs itched to move, to act, to protect the promise. Outside, the morning sun broke through the mist, and the forest seemed to sigh in approval. The girls left the hollow tree with a sense of power and responsibility. Every leaf, every stone, every blade of grass seemed to hum with anticipation. "Where do we start?" Sewa asked, tightening her grip on her bag. Amina pointed toward the village. "We run through the village. We find where the shadow is trying to steal knowledge and stop it. The drum will guide us." As they ran down the winding forest path, the hum beneath their feet grew louder. The drum beat, which had seemed distant for so long, now echoed clearly through the soil, through the roots, through their legs. It was alive, and it was theirs. By the time they reached the village, the shadow was visible, not a creature, not a person, but a creeping sense of fear and neglect that had begun to make girls doubt their learning, doubt themselves. Books lay forgotten in corners. Lessons went unheard. The voices of the village girls were quieting. Amina and her friends did not hesitate. They ran to each girl, encouraging, teaching, showing that knowledge was precious. With every step, the drum paused stronger. The shadow recoiled, unable to withstand the courage and unity of the Ron school girls. Children began to follow them, inspired by their bravery. The village slowly woke, the sun shining brighter, laughter returning, voices raised in learning and song. The shadow had no choice but to fade before the energy of determination and love for knowledge. By midday, the village was alive again. Girls ran to school with smiles, teachers encouraged loudly, and the path between Oro and the mission school was filled with movement and hope. The promise was safe for now. The girls gathered under the Iroko tree, breathing hard, but proud. "We did it," Ngozi said, eyes shining. "Yes," Amina said, looking at the red cloth around her wrist. "But this is only the beginning. The drum will always speak to those who listen, and we must always run to protect the promise." Kemi nodded. "We are the Run School girls, and now we know why." The hollow tree paused faintly, as if in approval, sending a small warmth through the air. Somewhere deep below, the drum waited, patient, ready to awaken again if the promise ever faltered. And the Run School girls, hearts full of courage, knew that the story of Oro village had changed forever. The village of Oro was never the same after that day. The sun seemed brighter, the river sang louder, and the laughter of children echoed through every alley and field. The Run School girls walked proudly along the dusty road, their red cloths tied around their wrists, a symbol of courage, unity, and the promise they had kept. Amina led the way to the school, the other girls following close behind. Teacher Musa was waiting at the gate, eyes wide with awe. "I've never seen such determination," he said. "You've done more than run, you've changed our village." The girls smiled, but they did not stop to rest. Their mission had not ended. The shadow may have been driven back, but its memory lingered. Knowledge, they realized, was fragile if left unattended. They had to keep running, teaching, and inspiring. At school, the children gathered in the courtyard, curious about the girls who had faced the drum, the hollow tree, and the shadow. Amina stood on a small rock, holding the red cloth high. "We run," she said, voice clear and strong, "not just to learn, but to protect learning. Knowledge is for everyone, and we must all guard it together." The children cheered. Their footsteps, laughter, and shouts formed a rhythm that reminded Amina of the drum. Deep beneath the village, the drum hummed again, faint but steady, as if acknowledging the victory and the girls' courage. Mama Ifunanya appeared then, slowly walking from her hut, her stick tapping the ground in its familiar rhythm. She looked at the girls with pride that lit up her face. "You have listened to the drum," she said, "and it has chosen well. You are no longer just girls who run to school. You are guardians of the promise." Kemi, Sewa, and Ngozi stood beside Amina, their faces glowing with pride and relief. "What do we do now?" Ngozi asked. Mama Ifunanya smiled. "Now, you continue. Teach what you have learned, inspire others, and remember that courage grows when shared. The drum will always speak to those who run with heart. And you will never run alone." Days turned into weeks, and the Rue School girls kept their promise. They helped the younger children with lessons, repaired broken books, and made sure every girl in the village felt safe and valued at school. The path to the mission school became a symbol not just of learning, but of determination, courage, and unity. Stories of their bravery spread beyond Oro village. Travelers told tales of the girls who listened to the drum, climbed the red hill, and faced the shadow to protect knowledge. Other villages began to encourage their children to run with purpose, to respect learning, and to guard the promises of their elders. Amina often returned to the red hill, alone sometimes with her friends. She placed a hand on the stone and listened. The drum no longer rumbled with fear or warning, it pulsed with pride and warmth. It was a heartbeat that connected the past, present, and future of the village. One evening, as the sun set and painted the sky in orange and gold, the girls gathered at the hollow tree once more. The carvings glowed faintly in the twilight, and the wind whispered a message of gratitude. "Thank you," Amina said softly. "We will keep the promise." The other girls nodded, their hearts full. They knew that the drum, the hollow tree, and the red hill were not just about magic, they were about courage, friendship, and the power of learning. The promise of Oro village was alive, and they were its protectors. As night fell, the village quieted, and the stars blinked above like watchful eyes. Somewhere deep below, the drum slept peacefully, confident that the Run School girls would never forget their mission. And in the hearts of Amina, Kemi, Sewa, and Ngozi, the memory of the red hill, the hollow tree, and the drumbeat lived forever, reminder that courage, unity, and knowledge could overcome any shadow. The village of Oro thrived. Children ran to school with joy, teachers taught with passion, and every girl who walked the path to learning knew that they were never alone. And so the story of the Run School Girls became legend, a tale whispered from one generation to the next, a story of bravery, wisdom, and the promise that no shadow, no fear, and no darkness could ever erase the power of hearts that run together. The drum had spoken. The promise had been kept. And the Run School Girls ran on, forever guardians of the path to knowledge. The end.